As Tim says, hey, baseball fans. It's been a really long time since I've done this, but a couple years ago, some of you may remember, some of you may not, I did a few episodes of a podcast called The Whip, the We Have Interviews podcast. And I think it's time we bring that back. Joining me to my left on the screen, or on the right side of the screen, is the GM of the 2024 World Series champions, Tom Falsone. Tom, how are you?
Doing great. Excited to be on here. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to it.
Happy to have you, man. Well, I mentioned you are the GM of our Angels. You are one of the winningest GMs in EMLB. We'll start off with, when did you join EMLB and how did you find it?
Well, I think it was during COVID. I started sort of picking up OOTP. I'd always, been into baseball. Thought I might check it out, see if I liked it. Obviously, I did, and I started to learn about online leagues, and I think I came across a post from Cody to join his new league, the VMLB. So joined that as the Angels, as they were, one of the only open teams at the time, I think, and enjoyed it and learned that it was actually more of an offshoot of the EMLB, and so checked out a few streams, and when the Angels went open there, I said, sure, yeah, throw me in. So, reached out and asked to join. And then I think I joined towards the very end of the 2023 season in the MLB, probably around 2020 or 2021.
Okay, so you ended up coming right into the league and winning a World Series then.
Oh, yeah. And I'm probably the last GM that will ever win a World Series without any CCPs.
I think at this point in time, the way the league has gone, that's basically impossible. I don't think there's a team in the league that doesn't have at least one. Well, I'm going to ask you a couple more questions about your team. First, besides that aforementioned World Series win, what moment for your team or what accomplishment are you most proud of?
I think really just our consistency is my biggest thing. We're not going to win the division every year, not in the AL West.
AL Best.
Yeah, no kidding. But we're going to put up 95-plus wins every season. We're always going to be in the playoffs, and we're always going to be a competitor. And for the most part, not going to be an easy team to knock out, unless you count that series against the Pirates a season or two ago. Yeah, that was rough. But, yeah, I mean, when you have the resources that I have as the Angels, like we clearly run a top payroll, it's not as difficult as certainly some other teams to maintain a winning team. But it's not easy either. And so I'm happy with how I've kind of amassed a core that I can build around and kept top talent in the team as well as kind of tertiary talent around the roster, and kind of cycled through some players that are giving me strong performances that can keep the team where I want it to be.
Well, speaking of strong performances, this podcast will release after, but we are recording before my Yankees and Tom's Angels meet for a game of the night, where Mike Trout has a chance to set the all-time home run record. Trout has been not the best player, but arguably the face of the Angels during your entire tenure. Do you expect this to be his last year, or do you expect him to return next year as well?
Well, let's pull him up. Right now, Mike Trout is batting .253, .370, .511 for a 140 WRC plus this year, and he has a team option for $21 million next year in his age 40 season. I think unless something catastrophic happens, you can bank on him being around and being our primary DH again next season.
And he's going to set the record. It's just a matter of when at this point in time.
Yeah, we'll see. Are you planning on throwing any pitch to contact to my boy tonight?
I'll tell you what. We're going to go ahead, and this is going to come out after, so Commissioner won't see it. Yes. I want the record. Joe Machado's not going to get it, but one of our parade of terrible relievers.
All right.
So maybe the goal will be to get it on Machado, but Do you think there's a player? At this point in time, it will be a CCP because just the disparity between creative prospects and CCPs. Do you think within the time that EMLB runs, there will be a player who tops Barry Bonds' now Mike Trout's record?
That's a tough question. I mean, it depends really on how long does the league last, and I think possibly the guy with the best chance to do it is Pedro Serrano, if I had to guess. Just taking a look at him, he's 28 years old and had only 103. Wait, no, I'm looking at splits first left. 376. Yeah, that sounds more like it. Yeah, if he continues his pace and we stick around another 4 or 5 real life years, I think maybe he could come for the crown there.
Yeah, well, that gives you a pretty long window for one of your boys to hold on to it.
Yeah, I mean it's no easy feat. It's pretty impressive that Trout is still putting up these kind of numbers when he's 39 years old.
And I think he'll kind of serve for us real life baseball fans a great what could have been for the real life Mike Trout.
Yeah, he hit 2 today.
He did hit 2 today.
Maybe
all right, well, not enough to get to 763 in real life.
Probably not.
Well, I do got one more question to ask about your Angels, and then we're going to move on a little bit here. You mentioned that the thing you're most proud of is your consistency, how you've managed to consistently remain one of the winningest organizations. Now, obviously, financial resources do help towards that, but in order to have financial resources, you do have to win. So I think it's a little bit on you. For your overall team building process to keep that team winning, how do you usually approach? Like, do you prioritize anything? Do you just look for best available? What's the overall philosophy you built the roster with?
Yeah, I think when you're trying to make your team better, the fastest way to do that is to identify your biggest weakness and turn it into a strength. For me, for example, coming into this season, my catching unit has been horrid for a while, and it's without a CCP catcher, it's very difficult to fix.
Oh, yeah.
So I made a trade for Pat Pethel with the Giants last year, and he's come in and really exploded on the scene this year. Did not expect this kind of production. I thought he would be better than my most recent attempts at catcher, but you know, when you can find a player that hits like that and fills a void, that's how you turn a bad team into a better team, and how you make a good team great, right? I mean, him and then Louis Garcia at third base this year for me has also come in and done some good things. Yeah, so I guess really you have to have a plan for your team, and it can't just be a one-year plan.
Mm-hmm.
You have to know which players are going to be around for a while, which ones you can rely on, which ones you can't really, and you just have to know where your answers are, either within the organization or without in free agency or the trade market.
Okay. Well, you certainly have a good direction going right now. It really sucks that Jandy Ronson got hurt, but I like the extension you signed. Did Danny Smith play a big role in that negotiation, or was that mostly you with the computer? Was he kind of pretty hands off with it?
Yeah, Danny was pretty great. He was very happy to land on a team that wanted to keep him for the long term.
Mm-hmm.
He had kind of bounced around a few organizations now, and had kind of voiced to me when I added him that, you know, he was looking to stay and not have to go to another team again. And so I think the number on the computer was extremely reasonable already for the quality of pitcher he is.
Mm-hmm.
And I was pretty excited to get the offer that I did. And Danny was more than willing to work with me and get the best deal for the team.
Well, I'm a little bit jealous. I was certainly hoping he would reach free agency where my Bucks could get him. It looks like I'm going to have to do what the real life Yankees did and wait till he was in his 40s.
Yeah, someday.
Well, we kind of when we started here, you gave your path for how you got into EMLB. And it was through VMLB, and that's actually what I want to talk about next. Cody no longer runs VMLB. And now in the EMLB, there are multiple people who can call themselves commish, and you're one of them. When did you take over VMLB, and what made you want to be the person who did?
Oh gosh, I couldn't even tell you how long it's been now. It's maybe 3 years. I'm not sure. I don't really look at myself as a full-on commissioner of the VMLB. I'm more of a shepherd. I run the Sims and I let things play out as they will.
Mm-hmm.
It's not nearly as involved of a league as EMLB or even your new league is. It's just there to provide a sandbox for GMs that want to compete without having to put too much time and effort into it. Just there to have fun and try out some new things and see where things lie. I haven't won that league yet somehow, but maybe
I saw
someday.
you move from the Angels to the Rays.
I did, yeah. The Angels in that league had a pretty good system as well for a while, and I wasn't as invested in the organization in that league as I am with the Angels and EMLB. So I decided to take on the Rays, a new challenge. Very, very low budget. They've been bad for a long time. Turned them around a lot quicker than I thought I would, to be honest. This last season, I think we put up 90-something wins and won the NL East out of nowhere. It was kind of crazy. Or AL East. No, NL East. AL East. Yeah.
Yeah, AL East.
AL East. Yeah, so that was fun. I don't know how it happened, but it was fun.
Well, that's how most things happen in baseball, unfortunately. It's kind of an unpredictable sport. It's predictable and unpredictable at the same time, I personally have found.
Yeah.
You've mentioned to me on multiple occasions, both in the past and recently, that you've kind of you enjoy running VMLB, but you've had at times, why am I still doing this? What does keep you doing it?
I think the fact that we still have a strong group of GMs in the league and people that are there to compete and have fun. I don't want to leave them, hang them out to dry and say I'm shutting it down without at least a notice. But, we've been around for a long time now, and we've had some GMs there since it started. And I don't know. I mean, as long as it's not too much of an imposition on my day-to-day, and I'm happy to continue doing it for the foreseeable future.
Okay. Would you ever get to a point where VMLB you feel would have run out its course? I'm in the league as well. I think it's getting ready for 2030.
Something like that, 2030, 2031, somewhere.
Would you ever
in there?
And the file deviated in 2022 or 2021. Would you ever get to a point where you'd say, let's start over, run a VMLB 2.0?
Oh, God, I haven't even thought of that. Probably not. I don't think so. I think it's more fun to see how far into the future we can go as opposed to starting up something brand new again.
Okay. Well, that makes complete sense. It's something I'd actually wondered when I started thinking about how long the league had been running. Well, you're wearing I want to get into a little bit more about who Tom is. We've talked about Tom the GM. We've talked about Tom the commish. Let's talk about Tom the man.
Oh yeah,
you are wearing a beautiful, gorgeous Washington Nationals City Connect jersey. You are a Washington National fan, correct?
Big time. Oh yes.
Lifelong, not completely lifelong, but childhood on.
Ever since 2005, baby. I grew up in Maryland near DC, and my dad is from New York, so he was always a Yankees fan, so we weren't allowed to root for the Orioles as kids. But when the Nationals moved to town, the whole family made the switch.
Really?
Yeah.
Even the dad?
Yeah, even the dad. He was happy. I don't know, 2005, the Yankees, they were good. They were still pretty good. at the
Yeah,
time.
but it was post three-peat,
Yeah,
going into the disappointing years.
yeah, for sure. I think he wasn't married to them by any means, and it was exciting to get on board with a
Mhm.
brand new team in the town.
It is the 19. I'm assuming yes. Besides the 19 World Series, is there any other moment that like really stands out to you as like the best moment you've had being a Nationals fan?
Ooh. Um, Max Scherzer 20 strikeout game, that no hit bid where he should have had a perfect game, and the freaking Pirates hitter leaned into the last pitch of the game and drew a hit by pitch. So 2019 was magical for sure. I mean, we've had so many amazing players come through the organization, like Zim, Strasburg, Scherzer, Harper, Soto, and it is real sad to watch pretty much all of them move along to new teams.
Mm-hmm.
But some of those teams we fielded in the 2010s, the 2016 was incredible. 2016 team, 2019 team, obviously, is just having pitchers like Strasburg and Scherzer taking the mound every 5 days. Like when you've got that level of excitement around a pitcher and how good he is, it makes every single game that they pitch some sort of spectacle to watch. So excited for us to get back to that again at some point.
Well, one of my favorite things about the Nationals as an organization, as an impartial viewer, is the team consistently manages to churn top talent. They let the talent go usually, but
Yeah.
I mean, you guys have a really good young core that's coming up right now, and I'm excited to see what the organization does here in a couple of years.
Yeah, we need to offer an extension to James Wood already. Please, please give him any kind of money he wants. Just keep him. Don't let
Whatever
him
he
go to the
wants, just don't
Phillies.
let him leave the building.
Yeah.
Being an just outside of DC, a Maryland guy, does that make you a Washington Commanders fan as well?
Actually, no.
Laugh right there.
No. Believe it or not, I'm a Giants fan.
Really?
Yeah, I wasn't really big into football until I moved up to New York for college and decided, I'm a Capitals fan as well, but decided I'd like to have a local team up in New York. And so, of course, I picked a football team because New York has such good football teams. And the Giants will just break your heart every single year. And there's no hope of it ever getting better, but maybe someday.
Well, I mean, there's a little bit of hope, right? Like eventually the team sucks long enough, it gets better.
No,
No hope.
we've tried that. It hasn't worked.
All right. Well, I'm going to ask you are. I don't even remember who the GM is at this point. You are whoever Dable's boss is, and you are in the draft room here in a week. Number one goes off the board. It's Ward, right? Number two, it's going to be one of Shadir, Carter, or Hunter. So of those three, you're going to get one of those three. Of those three, which one are you most hoping you end up with?
Well, if you look at the Giants signings this offseason, they signed Winston and Russ. Mm-hmm. I don't see us getting a quarterback. So I think Travis Hunter would be great, or Carter. But honestly, I almost want us to trade back and stock up for next year.
Fair. That's probably the smart thing to do as an organization. But as you've mentioned, there's no hope for them being smart.
Yeah, we can make all the right decisions and something will still go wrong anyways. So,
well, I completely understand. As a Falcons fan, I completely understand that.
Yeah, it's tough out here.
That's the thing, though. When you're a fan of an organization with no hope, all you kind of can do is hope. Low levels of it. You're not expecting anything, but deep down in your soul, you think they're going to finally do something good.
Yeah, it's funny. Like with EMLB and with the team that I have there, I found that I hate to lose more than I love to win, just because I expect to win every single game that I play. With the Giants, I expect to lose every single game that I play. So when we actually win, it's really exciting.
It's like, oh my God, this actually happened.
Yeah, it's it's a 180, but it's fun when it does happen.
I can relate. As you see, the Kansas Jayhawks right there, I get the dichotomy between football and basketball season. So
Yes,
I get it. I get to have high expectations and then get to have absolutely none. And finally, and when they do actually have success, feel elation. So I can relate to that.
good.
Well, the last thing on our docket, I wanted to cover a couple recent league events, bringing this back around to why we're here, bringing this back around to EMLB.
Get to the juicy stuff.
Well, there's been a couple trades. First, the aforementioned Jandy Ronson is on the IL for the next 5 to 6 weeks with a shoulder injury.
Yep.
Strained shoulder. If I'm
I think that's right. Yeah.
Okay. You made a preemptive move rather than going in house or just kind of backfilling. You made a move for the floundering Braves, Alejandro Rosario. What led you to pursuing him specifically? Was it like a matter of convenience? Were you targeting him specifically? Or was it just like I got to get a move and he seems like the best guy at the time?
So actually, I had started talking to the Braves about Rosario before the injury. I was already looking to add him either as rotation depth or bullpen help. And I think for now, I'm still going to stick him in the bullpen, and we're going to try Connor Siebold in the rotation and see how he looks because he's been very good out of the pen so far this year.
Mm-hmm.
But when Jandy went down, there was definitely an increased sense of urgency to find a way to get the deal done. But really, when I'm looking for a player to add to my team, and in the case of Rosario, I was looking to add a player that was on an expiring contract and was that I has a chance to improve my team, but wasn't going to cost me a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with Atlanta, Rosario had been underperforming a lot, in part due to Atlanta's extremely poor defense. He's an extreme fly ball pitcher, and they've got possibly the worst defensive center fielder in the league out there. I think there's room for him to bounce back and be an effective pitcher, and he's shown in the past that he can be extremely effective. So he's a guy that I kind of had my eyes on, and the Braves are certainly not a contender this year. And when you've got kind of those three things wrapped up, a non-contending team that's going to be looking to sell pieces that aren't a part of their future, a guy underperforming and making a little more money than maybe he should be, and the potential to improve and help out in an area of need, it kind of all wrapped in as a good way to improve my team. And so I'm happy we got a deal done for sure.
Did you find the negotiations easy? I always find actually it was Kenny. It's Moose Powers now. It's actually is this one of his first moves? I was almost about to talk about Kenny's trade history. How'd you find dealing with him? Do you feel like he's a good guy to deal with? Is it more of like a Ben negotiation?
Well, I can't tell you what a Ben negotiation is like because I tend not to trade within division. But I imagine knowing Ben, that can't be very easy. No, it was fairly simple. I laid out, my view of Rosario and told him what I was willing to give up. He told me his needs, and we found something that worked. Yeah.
Well, I only tease Ben because I'm going to bring Ben up here and for our next point. A rather large deal went down the other day. Large in its implications, at least. Marty McCleary getting dealt from the Rays to the White Sox, the defending AL pennant-winning White Sox, for a bag of chips, an IOU, and a promissory note. And there were feelings, there were opinions. Rather than provide an analytical opinion of the trade itself, I am more interested in your opinion about the opinions, if that makes sense. How do you feel about the reception to the deal?
Well, I understand both sides of the argument here. I mean, Ben looks at a trade and he says, I would have made that trade in a heartbeat. Why didn't you come to me? Right? And maybe in the heat of the moment, he comes out and says some things that maybe were better left unsaid.
It's happened to the best of us.
And the Tampa Bay GM, I'm sure he sees himself, he's happy with his return. He sees players that he got that he likes.
Mm-hmm.
And the beauty of a trade like that is you're not going to know if it was a win or a loss for another 3, 4, or 5 years in game.
That's
and
true.
So it's hard to pass judgment down on that now. And I think what really irked Ben is that he might have had similar trades nixed in the past. And so possibly a lack of consistency in how we are evaluating trades from the standpoint of should it be allowed or not. And that may be what he was most frustrated about. I obviously haven't spoken to him about it, but that's where I would assume is where he's coming from.
Okay.
And so, I'm not going to lay any blame at Kamish's feet because he's clearly got other more important things that he's focused on. And personally, I would nix any idea of a trade review and any idea of revoking a trade if I had the choice. I believe in allowing people to make their own mistakes and learn from them. I do think the mistake on Tampa Bay's part is not shopping him around more and not being absolutely certain that they're getting the best deal for their player. I find when I have a top player like that and I want to move him, the best way to get the best return for my organization is to start a bidding war between at least two teams and let them play off each other until I've got the best possible return. And I don't think you did that here.
I've been in one of those bidding wars with you before. I can remember that.
Oh yes, that was a fun one. That was very fun.
Well, I guess that kind of leads me into two questions that I'm going to consider probably our final two questions, unless I think of something quick to add. One, I personally view Marty McCleary as a fluke. Two-pitch pitcher. I mean, he's got an amazing skill set, but he's a two-pitch pitcher. And that always makes me nervous. What do you view him as? Do you view him as a guy who is probably best to offload, or do you view him as a bona fide rotation guy? Someone worthy of an extension.
The crazy thing is the White Sox snagged him, and their rotation is already stacked.
Yes.
It's a very, very impressive team. I do agree with you in general. I don't like to pitch starting pitchers, and he certainly does look the part of a two-pitch starting pitcher. However, he has the control and the movement to kind of make up for that.
Mm-hmm.
And really, his K rate this year has been very solid, very good.
His two pitches are amazing pitches, so he can make up for that a little bit.
Yeah, so if you're saying a fluke in the terms that, he shouldn't be this good, maybe I'd agree, but he's producing at a very high level this year and has done so for several years. And I'm amazed that he's only making $9 million this year through arbitration, honestly.
I believe he's a free agent at the end of the year.
I thought so too, but now I'm looking at his contract page and the arbitration. It says he might be ARB eligible.
If he gets sent down at all for any point in time,
okay,
it'll roll over.
Okay, so probably not.
Probably not.
Yeah,
I don't know. There could be some service time manipulation going on in Chicago. We don't know what goes on the white side and the south side there.
They got the rotation to let him wait.
They do.
But yeah, that was all in all. Hats off to the White Sox for making their team better.
Okay. Well, the last question I want to ask you is again on this trade here. And while I don't want to incur the wrath of Zod down on us, I am going to probe just a tiny bit. You mentioned Commission has a hard job, but this is not in line with previous rejections, or at least the standard that has been established. You're a very laissez-faire commissioner when it comes to trades. You just let things happen.
Yep.
Do you feel there should be a review process and a standard for what is accepted trades or not? Or do you feel EMLB should be a laissez-faire league where GMs can make mistakes and be punished for those mistakes without the league stepping in to correct it?
Yeah, it's a hard thing to say. The most important thing, regardless of the two options, is that you're consistent with it.
Mm-hmm.
But personally, I would trend towards, as you say, laissez-faire. I mean, I tend not to be a fan of the additional rules placed on, say, contract extensions, although I can see the need for certain CCPs.
Mm-hmm.
I find it's more fun when you allow people to get creative and maybe push the boundaries. And sure, the game engine isn't always great at maintaining reality to an extent. But if I had the choice, I would open things up and let people have a little more reign over what they're able to do and see where it takes us.
That was a very politically correct response there. I don't believe the wrath of Zod will come down on us yet. We have not been shut down. The lights are still on. Tom, thanks for joining me. I'm very happy to be restarting this podcast with you as my first guest.
Yes. Glad to come on and happy to join anytime you like.
I'd love to have you back. Well, I'm going to close this out with a Go Nationals. Go VMLB Rays. Go PPL Cubs.
All right.
Go EMLB Yankees.
All right. I'll give you that. Even though we're going to smoke you tonight.
Well, we'll see what happens there. Joe Machado did just shut down the Astros, so we'll see if that magic repeats.
Nice work.
Tom, it's been a pleasure. I'll see you at Game of the Night, and this podcast should be going up here shortly.
Excellent.
Thanks, man.
Have a great one.
You too. Bye.